Joining me this morning is Assistant Town Manager Mark Els. Good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
Thanks for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
This morning we're going to be chatting a little bit about the shooting range.
Okay.
The shooting range closed, I want to say, late last year. So tell me, where do we stand as far as the shooting range at this point?
Originally the shooting range closed because of an issue relevant to the insurance policy for the range, but upon closure and sitting down with staff and reviewing the operation and the various regulations, et cetera, that we had in place, it just became apparent to us that we needed to do a thorough review of that and to bring back, both for the insurance reasons and to our Conservation Commission, where the regulations and fees and hours of operation are all established, a more modern standard operating procedure. And in saying that, looking at both within Massachusetts and nationally at various models for how outdoor shooting ranges are operated. Ours was just an older version that needed to be updated, and that's what we have been working on since the closure.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit more, because if I'm correct, I believe that there are not many town shooting ranges in the country. So to find
well, in
how that works.
Massachusetts, there's a limited number, and they vary. Some fall under law enforcement agencies, some fall under the general city or town in which they're located. Some of them are similar to ours in that they're older facilities that are in remote locations where the people are still, with some regulation, allowed to shoot pistols and shotguns and rifles. And then others are very modern. When you get to, there's many examples of private facilities that are around, in abutting towns, for example. When you start to go out of state, you do find a lot of different examples, and those are what have been brought to us by supporters of keeping it open and providing us with examples. It's been an interesting process. There's a lot of misinformation flying around relative to it. And
I think you have that sometimes when people are so passionate and want something, about an issue, and they really, I think there is a huge population of people that really want the range open. Okay, tell me, what has been the miscommunications, and if you can, maybe correct those for us.
Well, I think actually there's both sides. I've heard about evenly from those who want to see it open as quickly as possible, all of them supporting, having a more modern, safe plan out there, and then others who have historically been opposed to it primarily because of the concern for sound and safety. And so, I've got this combination of communications coming in. The misinformation is relevant to what the project is, quite honestly, because in addition to what occurred relative to the insurance policy and the closure of the range, we also simultaneously had obtained permits so that we could take dredge material from two dredge projects. The first one was what we see ongoing over the last, several months out there, just completed, and it was taking permitted dredge material from Barnstable Harbor and putting it out there and creating a berm. We're going to do that again next year for dredge material coming out of East Bay. So a lot of people thought, well, this must be the noise mitigation plan, and is this going to address our concerns about noise? This was part of doing that because there was an overall plan for the facility, and this berm went in place where it was suggested to put a berm, but by no means was this a capital project to expand the facility to address all noise mitigation, etc. So we've actually had people on the supportive side saying, so what is the shotgun range, rifle range, and pistol range going to look like when you're done out there? There was not a capital project appropriated for this except for a berm that's being built with the dredge material.
Now, what will the berm do for the range? What benefit will that have?
Well, it was placed in a location, so hopefully it would mitigate some of the sound issues that come. It's on the northwest side, and hopefully mitigate some of the sound. Now, some people have, asked, was there a sound study done, and is this going to eliminate all sound? The answer is no and no. Again, there wasn't a specific capital project for the range. This was part of a dredge project, and the other review is obviously putting in place these standard operating procedures that will address some of the outdated rules perhaps that we had in place. Fundamentally, they're not significantly different. Some examples are we won't just be issuing keys to those who buy the permit to be able to go to the range. We're going to have range safety officers there. It's going to fall into the police department. Long term, we'll have to determine whether it'll be actual officers or whether it'll be certified range safety officers we'll have there. And certainly the chief of police will weigh heavily into that decision. We're going to be looking at hours of operation. Right now it's follows really hunting hours, quite honestly, 7 days a week. And we're going to look to limit that so that we're going to have more tightened hours of operation. The other misinformation is, our tax dollars are paying for this, and when we're opposed to it, certainly, I don't want my tax dollars paying for this. Well, this is a fee-based sort of service that's being offered. We're not putting tax dollars into this. The fees that we charge for the operation of the facility pay for the operation, and when we move forward, it'll be the same. The other question was about an older Horsley and Winton study that was done relevant to lead abatement on the site. And all ranges everywhere have to monitor and manage the lead shot that's used at the range, and there's certainly guidelines for how to do that, and so we've incorporated those, and we'll be following those as we go into the future. But the suggestion has been, well, the only reason you're not closing the range is because if you do, you'll have to abate the lead. The management of that lead shot that's in the facility is part of our plan. That's what the guidelines from the Department of Environmental Protection are looking for us to do, and that's exactly what we're doing. So
let's talk a little bit, if we can, about timeline. I know that you've named a lot of steps that have to occur before anything can get reopened. Mm-hmm. What does the town have a sort of timeline laid out yet, or is it just sort of up in the air and we don't know yet?
Well, we were shooting for this calendar year to get it reopened. I don't mean to say shooting, but that was our timeline. And at this point, we're still progressing toward that. We're discussing with Conservation Commission when we will be bringing back the modified regulations, hours of operation, and fees that will go along with this. So I would expect, certainly by the end of the summer to have a tightened time frame to be able to say to you, okay, here's when we're going to hold that public meeting or that public hearing, etc.
Great. Anything else we should be aware of as far as the shooting range goes?
Just that I want to hear from the residents. People will call and apologize that they're coming to talk with me about it. They've come individually, they've sent by email, they've called me. I've actually had people from other parts of the country who visit here that read the article in the newspaper that have never used our range call and say, well, geez, I live in Texas or Arizona or Florida, and I'm a member of a range there, and I have the information, and I'll be more than happy to share it with you so that you can utilize that. And you can just see as we look across the country with these more modern standard operating procedures, they're very consistent, and many of them follow, National Rifle Association and other national level models that are out there, and it's all focused on safety. And having range safety officers and having controlled situations during all hours of operation are standard. And so that's what we want to get with our facility.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by and tell us, give us an update, tell us what's going on, and really clear up some of those misconceptions that have been out there.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you for stopping by.